Hello, little dreamers, and welcome to our story corner. I'm so happy you're here with me today. Are you all snuggled in and ready for a tale? Today, we're going to journey into a classic story, one that has been told for many, many years. It's a story about a little girl with a big imagination, and it takes place on a very cold winter's night. This story is called The Little Match Girl. It is a tale that reminds us to be kind and to cherish the warmth and love we have in our lives. So, let's get cozy, open our hearts, and step into this magical, snowy world together. It was a terribly cold evening. The last evening of the year. Snow was falling, and darkness was gathering. In the cold and the gloom, a poor little girl was walking through the streets. She had no hat on her head and no shoes on her feet. When she left home, she had been wearing slippers, but they weren't much good. They were very large slippers, so large, in fact, that her mother had last worn them. The little girl had lost them as she ran across the street to get out of the way of two carriages that were rolling by terribly fast. One slipper was nowhere to be found, and a boy had run off with the other, saying he could use it as a cradle for his own doll someday. So now the little girl walked on with her tiny, bare feet, which were quite red and blue from the cold. In an old apron, she carried a bundle of matches, and she held a small pack of them in her hand as well. All day long, no one had bought a single match from her, and no one had given her a single penny. She crept along, shivering and hungry, a picture of sadness, the poor little thing. The snowflakes fell on her long, fair hair, which curled so prettily about her neck. But she didn't think about her looks now. Lights were shining from every window, and there was a wonderful smell of roast goose in the street, for it was New Year's Eve. Yes, she was thinking about that. She found a corner formed by two houses, one of which stuck out a little farther into the street than the other. There she sat down and huddled together. She had drawn her little feet up under her, but she was colder than ever. She didn't dare go home, for she had sold no matches and earned no money. Her father would surely be upset. And besides, it was cold at home, too. They lived in a drafty attic, and the wind whistled through, even though they had stuffed the largest cracks with straw and rags. Her little hands were almost numb with cold. Ooh, a match might be some help, if she could only dare to take a single one from the bundle, strike it on the wall, and warm her fingers. She drew one out. Scratch! How it sputtered! How it burned! It was a warm, bright flame, like a tiny candle, as she held her hands over it. It was a wonderful light. It seemed to the little girl that she was sitting by a great iron stove with polished brass knobs and brass ornaments. The fire burned so beautifully and gave off such a lovely warmth. Oh, how wonderful that was! The little girl was already stretching out her feet to warm them. To wimple, the flame went out. The stove vanished, and she had only the remains of the burnt-out match in her hand. She struck another match. It burned. It gave a light, and where the light fell on the wall became transparent like a veil. She could see right into the room. A snow-white cloth was spread on the table, and on it stood a splendid dinner set. A steaming roast goose, stuffed with apples and dried plums, was in the center. And what was even more wonderful, The goose hopped down from the dish, waddled across the floor with a knife and fork in its back, and came right up to the poor girl. Then the match went out, and nothing was left but the thick, cold wall. She lit another match. Now she was sitting under the most beautiful Christmas tree. It was even larger and more beautifully decorated than the one she had seen through the glass door of the rich merchant's house. Thousands of candles were burning on the green branches, and colorful pictures, like the ones in the shop windows, looked down at her. The little girl reached both her hands toward them, and then the match went out. The Christmas lights rose higher and higher. She saw them now as stars in the sky. One of them fell, leaving a long trail of fire. "Someone is passing away," said the little girl. Her old grandmother, the only person who had ever loved her, and who was now gone, had told her that when a star falls, a soul is going up to be with the stars. She struck another match against the wall. Once again there was light, and in its glow stood her old grandmother, so bright and shining, so mild and so full of love. "Grandmother," cried the little one, "oh, take me with you. I know you will go away when the match burns out. You will vanish like the warm stove, the wonderful roast goose, and the big, glorious Christmas tree." She quickly struck the whole bundle of matches, for she wanted to keep her grandmother with her. The matches flared up with such a blaze that it was brighter than midday. Her grandmother had never before looked so beautiful or so grand. She took the little girl in her arms, and they flew in brightness and in joy, high, high up, to a place where there was no cold, no hunger, no fear. They were together. But in the cold dawn, in the corner by the house, sat the little girl with rosy cheeks and a smile on her lips. She was frozen on the last evening of the old year. The New Year's sun rose on the little figure. The child sat there, stiff and cold, still holding the matches, one bundle of which was almost completely burned. She wanted to warm herself, people said. No one imagined what beautiful things she had seen, or in what glory she had gone with her dear old grandmother into the happiness of the new year. And so our story comes to an end. It's a story that makes us think, isn't it? It reminds us that even in the coldest moments, our imagination and our memories can bring us warmth and light. It also teaches us the importance of kindness and looking out for one another. A small act of kindness can make a world of difference to someone. Always remember to share your warmth and your smile with those around you. Thank you for listening with such open hearts today. I hope you'll join me again soon for another story. Until then, stay curious, stay kind, and keep dreaming. Bye for now.